A single license plate could cost some California drivers half the price of their $1 million supercar.
That is a wild, wild metric to kick us off with.
Right. But it is true. So, welcome to this deep dive. Our mission today is to, unpack a massive stack of sources and pull out the most fascinating, need-to-know insights just for you.
Yeah, and we've got a lot to get through today.
We really do. Today, we are bringing you directly into this crazy web of high-end cars, state surveillance, and a massive legal loophole.
It is quite the story.
We've got official press releases from the California Attorney General, deep investigative articles from The Drive, Car Buzz, and Bloomberg Tax. Plus, we are pulling from a really interesting YouTube broadcast by the guys over at Switchcast.
Which adds a completely different flavor to the whole thing.
Exactly. And our goal today is to explore something called the Montana Loophole. We're going to look at how high-tax states push successful citizens to, find creative financial shields. And then we're going to examine the aggressive, surveillance-heavy tactics the government uses to strike back.
It really is a fascinating tug of war. I mean, on one side, you have citizens trying to protect their wealth. On the other side, you have a state government that absolutely refuses to let those tax dollars slip away.
Yeah, they want their money.
Yeah, absolutely do. We're looking at a situation where the desire to avoid taxation meets the full crushing force of state power.
So breaking that down, I want to kick things off with a fast-paced 90-second rundown of the breaking news that triggered all of this. Listen closely to this because the numbers here are just wild.
The numbers are staggering.
California just charged 14 people with a 56-count felony complaint.
56 counts.
Yeah. The crimes are conspiracy, money laundering, and tax evasion. The state claims these individuals dodged $1.8 million in taxes on $20 million worth of luxury cars.
And we aren't talking about standard commuter sedans here.
Oh, not at all. We are talking about $1.8 million McLaren Elvis, Porsche 918 Spyders, Lamborghini Ursas, and the craziest part of the whole bust.
Oh, this is the best part.
Investigators busted them using their very own text messages. One buyer literally bragged in a text, $70K saved, stupid California.
Just putting it right there in writing.
Right, in writing. Another texted, need to do Montana thing? Wow. He is awesome with like 7 exclamation points.
It's incredible, right? A few careless text messages completely unraveled a multi-million-dollar scheme. They practically handed the prosecution their entire case on a silver platter.
They really did.
But, to really grasp why someone buying a $1.8 million McLaren would risk a felony charge over some license plates, we really need to look at the basic math.
Right. Let's look at how that actually works and connect it directly to your wallet. If you're listening to this, imagine you've worked hard, you've saved, and you finally go to buy your absolute dream car in California.
Exactly. Picture that scenario. The state hits buyers with a base sales tax of 7.25%. And depending on your specific city or county, local taxes can push that rate even higher.
It adds up so fast.
It does. So if you buy a $1 million car, which many of the defendants in this case did, you lose a massive amount of your own money to the state. The second you sign the paperwork, you are instantly handing over $75,000, maybe even $100,000 just in sales tax.
And that doesn't even include the yearly registration fees. You're paying thousands of dollars every single year just for the privilege of keeping the car parked in your own garage.
Right. So contrast that heavy tax burden with Montana's financial setup. Montana charges 0 sales tax. Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, 0. And registering a brand new $1 million exotic car there costs just $217 a year.
$217. That is less than a monthly cable bill for some people.
Exactly.
When you look at those two numbers side by side, $100,000 versus $217, it's no wonder people are looking for a way out. But if you live in Los Angeles or San Francisco, how do you legally get a Montana license plate? The mechanics of the loophole are surprisingly simple, right?
Shockingly simple. For about $1,000, you hire a registered agent in Montana. And this isn't some shady back alley deal. There is an entire cottage industry of about 200 of these registered agents operating openly right now.
Just doing this all day long.
All day long. This agent sets up a limited liability company, an LLC, in your name, physically based in Montana. Then the LLC buys the car. Since the LLC is technically a Montana resident, the car gets registered in Montana.
Okay.
So you get a set of Montana license plates mailed directly to your house. You bolt them onto your Lamborghini, drive it around California, and legally speaking, you don't actually own the car. A company in Montana owns the car.
The scale of this practice is just staggering. It's practically an open secret in the car community. I was looking at the data from the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, and the numbers are almost comical.
They really are.
Montana currently has 1.94 vehicles for every single licensed driver in the state.
That is the highest rate in the entire United States, and it's double California's rate.
Almost 2 cars for every single person who can drive. And yet, despite having all those cars registered on paper, vehicles with Montana plates traveled the absolute fewest miles of any state in the country.
Because the cars aren't actually in Montana. They're sitting in driveways in Los Angeles, Atlanta, Miami. In Beverly Hills alone, state investigators recently flagged 416 highly suspicious car sales tied to this exact loophole.
Looking at the commentary from the Switchcast YouTube channel, you really get a sense of the frustration driving those 416 sales.
You do.
The hosts over at Switchcast viewed this through a very specific right-leaning lens. And to be clear to you listening, we aren't endorsing this view, we're just reporting what the sources say. But they frame this not as malicious tax evasion, but as a natural defense mechanism against a state that's vastly overreaching.
Right.
In their view, these tax rates are so severe they actually punish success. When the state demands $75,000 for a 5-year vehicle registration, as one of the defendants pointed out, finding a legal shield is just a natural human reaction.
Yeah, that's their core argument.
They argued that people don't see that massive tax bill translating into better roads or better services. They just see their hard-earned money vanishing.
And it's important to understand that perspective because it explains the psychology behind the loophole. For a lot of these buyers, it isn't just about the money, it's the principle.
It's about sending a message.
Precisely. The tax rates feel so severe that they actually incentivize the creation of these elaborate avoidance structures. For a long time, setting up a Montana LLC seemed like the perfect, quiet rebellion against excessive state taxation.
But the government doesn't like losing its money.
No, they do not.
And that brings us to the crackdown. The state is striking back, and I was looking at the enforcement numbers. The amount of surveillance technology California is deploying to claw this money back is wild. They aren't just sending sternly worded letters, right?
Not at all. California estimates that it loses about $10 million a year to this specific loophole. And to get that $10 million back, the state government has built a massive, highly coordinated enforcement apparatus.
It sounds like a spy movie.
It kind of is. They are deploying serious surveillance technology. California is actively using automated license plate readers, or ALPRs, and surveillance cameras stationed all over the state's highways and intersections to track the daily movements of its residents.
Wow.
They are scanning specifically for Montana plates, and they are logging exactly where those cars go and where they sleep at night.
I saw Homeland Security listed on the task force roster in our sources, which completely blew my mind. Homeland Security. It feels like they are treating luxury car buyers like international syndicates. How does the state justify that level of escalation?
Well, the surveillance is just the tip of the iceberg. As you mentioned, the state formed a multi-agency task force called TRUE. That stands for Tax Recovery in the Underground Economy.
Catchy acronym.
Right. And it includes the Department of Motor Vehicles, the Franchise Tax Board, the Department of Tax and Fee Administration, and yes, federal agencies like the IRS and Homeland Security investigations.
That is heavy.
They justify it because they view this as a coordinated effort to defraud the government of millions of dollars. They treat it with the exact same level of aggression and resources as they would a major organized crime ring.
And their push is highly active. Since 2023, the DMV has launched 81 criminal investigations. They found 601 fraudulent vehicles and extracted $4 million in taxes and fees from citizens.
The numbers don't lie.
No, they don't. But the state isn't just targeting the drivers in their driveways. They are actively squeezing the local businesses, too.
That's right. The government knows they can't realistically track down every single Montana plate on the road. So they go to the source. According to the Bloomberg Tax and Car Buzz pieces, the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration identified 500 California car dealers who were involved in 2,500 suspicious sales.
2,500 sales.
Yes. They mapped out the data. In the wealthy enclave of Mill Valley alone, investigators found 99 suspicious vehicle sales linked to just 2 high-end dealerships.
99 sales from just 2 dealers. That suggests the dealerships aren't just innocent bystanders. They might be quietly facilitating this, or at least turning a blind eye to help move million-dollar inventory.
Exactly. When you have that kind of volume concentrated in a single wealthy zip code, the state knows exactly where to shine its spotlight.
Okay, let's unpack the actual legal trap here, because earlier we said the loophole itself was technically illegal. So how are these 14 people getting hit with 56-count felony complaints? What pushes this from a clever tax workaround into actual money laundering and conspiracy?
This is where the trap snaps shut, and it comes down to a specific quirk in California law.
Yeah.
You can legally avoid paying the California sales tax on a vehicle, but only if you take delivery of the car at a state and then keep the car entirely out of California for 12 straight months.
Got it. So if I buy a Porsche 918 Spyder in Los Angeles, but I pay to ship it to a garage in Montana, and I literally leave it there for a full year without bringing it across the California border, I am totally safe.
Yes, that is perfectly legal. But here's the reality. Nobody wants to buy $1 million hypercar and wait a full calendar year to drive it down the Pacific Coast Highway.
I mean, you buy the car to drive it.
Exactly. So people tried to fake the paperwork. To legally prove the car left the state, you need a specific shipping document called a bill of lading.
Right. A bill of lading is basically a formal receipt from a commercial transport company proving they hauled your car across state lines.
Exactly. It's the physical proof the state requires. These defendants were buying forged bills of lading to trick the state into thinking the cars were shipped away on a truck. In reality, the cars never left. The buyers just drove them straight home from the dealership and parked them in their own California garages.
And this is where those text messages we mentioned earlier came back to haunt them.
Exactly. The government got a hold of their phones during the investigation. And the texts are incredibly damning. One text literally read, "Just got to throw some generic signatures to fake the shipping forms."
Unbelievable.
Another person texted, "Can you put some scribbles, please?" and PDF it. They didn't just break the law. They put their entire conspiracy in writing.
That is just wow. So the state catches them. They use the automated plate readers to prove the car has been driving around Los Angeles for the past 6 months. They verify the shipping documents are totally fake, and then the hammer drops. What is the actual penalty when you get caught in this trap?
The penalty is absolutely brutal. The state forces you to pay all the back taxes you originally owed, plus a massive 50% penalty on top of that tax.
50%.
Yep. So if you owed $100,000, you now owe $150,000. And that is before you even factor in the criminal charges, the massive legal fees to defend yourself, and the potential for actual prison time for perjury and money laundering.
Which brings us perfectly to the hidden risks. If you're listening to this and thinking about registering your own car out of state, the Switchcast hosts made a point you really need to hear. Even if you personally feel that taxes are essentially theft, trying to beat the state at this game might completely backfire on you.
Yes. The hosts on Switchcast were very clear on this front. They completely understand and share the frustration of excessive taxation. But they laid out exactly why the Montana LLC is incredibly dangerous today, starting with absolute insurance nightmares.
Breaking that down for us, what does a corporate LLC have to do with your personal car insurance?
It creates a massive conflict. If you register your car to a corporate LLC in Montana, but you actually garage the car at your personal home in California, your insurance policy is basically a ticking time bomb.
How so?
Let's say you take that Lamborghini out on a Sunday drive and you crash it. Your personal insurance company sends out a claims adjuster. They look at the paperwork and see the car actually belongs to a commercial LLC based in another state, not you. They can completely deny your claim on the spot, leaving you on the hook for a wrecked exotic car.
But it gets worse than just a denied claim.
Much worse. Switchcast noted that insurance companies will often drop your coverage entirely for misrepresenting where the car is garaged. And here's the real kicker.
Imagine finding out your electric
The insurance
bill
company might
is
actually
secretly
paddle on
funding
you.
the government's
Yes.
massive spending
To protect
addiction.
themselves from
It is a
liability,
pretty
they can
shocking
hand your
realization when you
information
actually
straight
look at the
over to the
math.
state
Right.
authorities.
Well,
Basically
imagine for a
doing the
second
true
that you have a
task
savings
force's
account.
investigative work for them.
And
So you wreck your car,
You swore to your family,
you lose
hand
your
over
insurance
heart,
coverage, and you
that
get
this
handed
money
a
was
felony
strictly
tax
for
evasion
fixing a
charge.
leaking roof.
That is a
You
nightmare
said,
scenario.
If we don't
But
fix
there
this
is
roof,
also a new federal
the
law
house is
making
gonna
this
collapse.
even harder.
It's an existential crisis
Let's talk about
for the house.
FinCEN,
Exactly.
because
It's the
this
Save the House
fundamentally
Fund.
changes the
But
game
then,
for the
you know, your
whole
car breaks
anonymous
down,
LLC
you spend a little too much on
concept.
groceries,
FinCEN
you've got
stands
bills
for the
piling up.
Financial Crimes
So what do you do?
Enforcement Network.
You raid the roof fund. It's a bureau
You
of the
take
U.S.
that money,
Treasury
pay off your
Department.
credit cards, and tell
Recently,
your family,
the
hey,
federal
don't worry,
government
we'll fix the
enacted
roof later.
sweeping new rules. And in this
to crack
scenario,
down on anonymous
the
shell
roof is the
companies.
planet. They were
Or at least
mainly
Maryland's
targeting
climate
international
goals.
money laundering, and the
Oligarchs,
car is a
but they call
massive
the car guys in the
self-inflicted
net.
Collateral damage.
$1.5
Now,
billion
if you have a Montana
state
LLC,
budget deficit.
you
A
are
completely
federally required
avoidable
to file a
deficit, I might add.
beneficial ownership
Welcome to the deep
information
dive.
report,
Or a BOI.
Today we're exploring
I was
a
reading up
classic
on what
case
this
of
BOI
fiscal sleight
actually
of hand
requires, and it's
coming out of
not just a
Annapolis.
simple checkbox.
We are
You
looking
have
at
to
the
tell the federal
Strategic
government
Energy
exactly
Investment
who
Fund,
actually owns the LLC,
the
right?
SAFE.
You have to provide your
It's a
personal
huge
government
pot of
ID
money
and your
meant to save
actual
the
home
environment.
address.
But it's turning into a
You have to
hidden
give them your
tax
driver's
on every
license or
single person
passport
paying
and the
an
physical
electric
address
bill
where you
in
live.
Maryland.
The whole
It really
point of the
is. It's become
Montana
the center of
LLC
a
for many
huge
people was
political fight.
anonymity.
You've got
You
a
could hide
Democratic
behind the
governor,
corporate shield,
frustrated
and the state of
environmentalists
California
making some
wouldn't know
very
you owned
awkward
the car.
compromises,
And not anymore.
and conservative
Not anymore.
critics who
Now
are
you
rightly
have to
calling
file a
this whole
formal
thing a shell
report
game.
with the feds declaring
And
that
when
you
you
are the
look at the
primary
documents we
owner
have today,
and linking your
reports,
California
budget
residency
proposals,
directly to that
critiques from Senate
Montana entity
Republicans,
in a
it
federal
is
database.
really hard to unsee it.
Our
You are
mission
no
for this
longer
deep
flying
dive is
under the
simple.
radar.
Follow
You
the
are
money.
actively putting a
Always follow
target
the
on your
money.
back
We are going to see
and
how a
destroying the
fund
geographic
designed to
firewall
fight
you paid
climate
to create.
change is being used
That
to
really
plug
brings us to
holes
the
in
ultimate
state
lesson
budget.
here.
And we'll
The
dig
guys
into
at
the argument
Switchcast
that this
frame
isn't
this
found money
brilliantly.
at all. This is
On one
essentially
hand,
a
you have
backdoor
citizens
tax
rightfully
on families.
frustrated by a
Let's
state
get right
taking
into
huge
it.
chunks
The
of their wealth.
Strategic Energy
But on the
Investment
other hand,
Fund.
the
It
risks
sounds
are
very
astronomical.
official, very
The
important.
Switchcast host
What does it
bluntly
actually
pointed
do?
out.
The government has tanks.
On paper,
The government
it is
has
the
tanks.
state's green
It
piggy
perfectly
bank.
illustrates
This
the
IIF
power
is managed
dynamic.
by the Maryland
You are
Energy
one
Administration.
individual
Its
citizen
whole
trying to
stated
save
purpose is to reduce
$70,000.
energy bills,
The
cut
state
waste,
has unlimited
and fund
resources,
renewable
endless
energy.
time,
Like
and the
solar
legal
panels and
authority to
efficiency
completely
upgrades.
crush you.
Exactly.
They have
But here is the
multi-agency
real
task
aha moment
forces,
of this story.
surveillance grids on the highways,
Where does
and
the
the
money
power to
actually
seize your assets.
come from?
Fighting
Because
them
they
on
aren't
this
just
specific
taxing you
battleground is a
directly for
losing
it.
proposition.
No, and that's why
So what is the
politicians
alternative for
absolutely love
someone
it.
who
It feels
simply
free.
refuses to hand
So about
over
40% comes from
$100,000 in
regional
taxes?
carbon
Do they just have
auctions.
to pay it?
For a
But
lot
the
of
big
wealthy
chunk,
buyers,
the one
yes,
growing like
paying
crazy,
the
comes with
$100,000
something
in
called
tax is just the
alternative
incredibly
compliance
painful
payments,
cost
or
of keeping the
ACPs.
government out
Which
of
is
their
just a
lives. It
fancy
buys
government
peace of
term for a
mind.
fine.
It
Right.
ensures that
It's a
when
fine
you get
for
pulled over
failure.
for
Let me break
speeding,
it down.
you don't have a massive
Maryland
panic
law
attack
forces
about going to
utility
federal
companies
prison.
to
But for the
buy
people
a
who
certain amount of
absolutely
green energy.
stubbornly
They
refuse
have
to
to
pay the
prove they're
tax,
using renewables.
there's actually
But
one
they can't find that green
legal,
energy, or it's just
ironside
way
way
too
to do
expensive
it,
on the
right?
market.
I saw a
Which it usually
Bloomberg
is.
tax highlight
Yeah,
of a
the
company
state
called
gives
Auto
them an escape
Concierge.
hatch.
Yes.
The utility can just
For
pay
those
a
who
fee
want to play
directly to the
strictly
state
by the
instead.
government's rules,
That fee is
they
the
are
ACP.
turning to
And
out-of-state
here's the
storage
kicker.
facilities.
Utilities
Auto
are
Concierge operates
increasingly
massive,
just paying
secure
the
storage
fine because
facilities
it's
in
cheaper
places
than
like
actually
Montana.
buying the
If
green
you buy the
energy.
million-dollar
So
car and
the
store it
climate
there for
fund
the
is
full
getting
12 months,
incredibly
you can
rich.
legally beat the California tax.
Precisely
But you have to
because
really
the
prove
green
it.
energy
Absolutely.
mandates are failing.
Auto
Precisely.
Concierge
It
takes
is a
geotagged,
completely perverse
timestamped photos of the
incentive.
car and the
The
facility
government made the
to
mandate
prove it
so
never
aggressive
crossed
and
the
the market is
California
so
border
distorted
during that
that
first
power
year.
companies are just writing
It
checks
takes
to the state
immense
instead of going
patience,
green.
and it costs
the
money
stats
to
on
pay
this
for
are
the
just
secure
staggering.
storage.
They are.
But it keeps you
In
entirely out of the
2022,
crosshairs
this revenue
of the
was
true
$77
task
million.
force.
By
After the 12 months
2025,
are up,
it jumped to
you can legally bring the car into
$365
California
million.
without owing the sales
Wow.
tax.
From
Okay,
77
let's wrap
million
this
to
up and summarize the
365 million
takeaways from
in
this
3
deep
years.
dive.
Right, so now the state
We've
has
seen
this
how crushing tax
massive
rates naturally
accidental pot
push
of
successful
gold.
citizens
It's
to find
supposedly for
creative
green
loopholes
projects.
to protect their
But
wealth.
remember, that money
The Montana
didn't just fall out of
LLC
the
became
sky.
the go-to
utility
shield for
companies
thousands
paid
of
those
drivers
fines.
looking to save
And
tens
do you
of
think those
thousands of
massive
dollars.
corporations
But the
just
state
ate
caught
that
on.
cost out of
They
the goodness
did.
of their hearts?
The state's
Oh, absolutely
aggressive
not. They passed
surveillance-driven
every single
crackdown
penny of that
using
onto the
automated
customer.
plate
Exactly.
readers,
It shows
federal
up right
task
on your
forces,
electric
and
bill.
massive
So
financial
you, the
penalties
everyday ratepayer,
makes those
are paying
workarounds
for the
incredibly
utility's
risky
failure
today.
to meet a government
You might
mandate.
save money today,
The state
but you
collects
risk
your
your
money,
insurance,
drops
your
it in the safe,
reputation,
and says,
your freedom.
"Look at all this cash we
tomorrow.
have for the climate."
It represents
Which
a
brings us to the
profound
right
shift in how the state
because that money
enforces
is
its
definitely
will.
not staying in
The
the
sheer
climate fund.
scale
Not
of the
anymore.
operation
Enter
is
Governor Wes
staggering.
Moore.
And it
His
leaves us with a
administration is
final
staring down a
chilling question
projected
to think about.
What's that?
$1.5
If
billion
state governments are
budget
willing to deploy
deficit.
surveillance cameras,
1.5
automated
billion.
license plate readers, and
can't just ignore
multi-agency
a hole
federal
that
task
deep.
forces
You can't.
just to track
And
down
when government
tax-dodging
overspends to
supercars,
that degree,
how
they
long
start
before they
checking
use
under
that
the
exact
couch
same
cushions
tracking
for loose
technology to
change.
monitor the daily
Except here,
movements
the couch
of everyday
cushion is the green
citizens?
energy
A sobering
fund,
thought to end
and
on.
the
Thank you
loose
so much for
change is
joining us on
hundreds
this
of
deep
millions of
dive. We will
taxpayer
catch you
dollars.
next time.
So with